All right, now for my next comedy story. So, since it's 4th of July, I figured I'd make it based around something in my life that was 4th of July related. So, back when I was a kid, around 18 years old, there in Gravois, there's a trout farm. It's called Troutdale. And there's a spring that comes right out of the earth. And we used to all work there, me and all my buddies, and we would raise trout from the time they were, nothing until they were full grown. And we had multiple ponds that we would have, and we would go and wade in these ponds and throw out nets, even in the middle of winter. I remember being like so cold, like negative, 10 degrees out in the middle of winter with snow and ice everywhere. But then going out and wading in these ponds and waders up to my chest, way up high, and throwing out nets and being in this water and having to stick my hands in this water. But the water was cool because it was a spring, so it was 50, 2 degrees. And in the middle of summer, when it's 110 degrees out and you jump in a 52-degree water, you go, and you're like so cold. But when it's -10 out and you're in waders and the water isn't even touching you and you're standing in it, it's like a jacuzzi. And so but all times of the year we'd have to do this. But we would get in there and we'd sort the fish, and then we'd clean the fish, and then we'd send it off and go to restaurants, and the restaurants would sell it. And that's how they'd sell their trout. And I got some other stories that I just remembered I should tell as well. But that's for another day. But this one is related around 4th of July. So every year at 4th of July, me and my buddies would always obviously get fireworks, and we were always a little bit mischievous, and it all started pretty casually. We'd be standing there and shooting bottle rockets, and then we'd be like, and shoot one of our buddies and be like, I got you. And then of course, they wouldn't be like, oh no, you shot me. And they would shoot back. So it started out, just messing around, haha, fun and games, all laughs. And we had a bottle rocket war one year. Well, the next year, everybody remembered what happened, and so we prepared. And there was a big valley down there by the ponds that just had infinite room and infinite space. And the next year, it got pretty serious, and everybody brought all kinds. We had, armies of supplies to be able to have bottle rockets and all kinds of stuff. And we had a massive war, and it was, just something that was just amazing. We had just a huge war of bottle rockets and everything going everywhere. And I think somebody that year brought some Roman candles and had a couple Roman candles that they shot, and they were the coolest ever, and they were pretty cool, and everybody came to terms with it. Okay, well now Roman candles are allowed. Well, fast forward to the next year, and by this point, it started to be a pretty big thing, and everybody had heard about these wars and battles that had gone on down there in the valley. And it's just this big valley, like I said, with these ponds and this big open grassy field area, and it was awesome. And so me and my buddies, we're pretty wild back in the day. We'd throw parties down there, and we just had the biggest party ever on 4th of July. And it seems like everybody from all the towns around showed up. It was massive. And at this point, we'd come to terms with Roman candles being all right, but we hadn't really put it into play. It had just really been into effect the year before. And so everybody really stocked up and came really hard that year with what they had brought. And it was really next level. And so we didn't really realize what we were doing or we were getting into. And I remember once the battle started, it consecutively started with just a couple boo, 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 boo. And then it just popped off and chaos ensued. And it was just literally bottle rockets and Roman candles and everything flying everywhere. Just boom, boom, boom. It was like Gettysburg. Without the death and destruction, but as far as the explosions and the chaos, it was probably more insane because Gettysburg stuff didn't blow up and put sparkly stuff in the air when it did, and we did everywhere. Everything was going off everywhere. There's smoke, there's everything. It's insane. And then apparently some people had the plans to bring the Saturn missiles to where, and oh man, I should not encourage this for people. I shouldn't say this, but it is possible to hold Saturn missiles in your hand and it not really be that big of a deal. And you hold Saturn missiles and go boo, 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 and you can really aim those things strategically very well, and those are like a rapid fire machine gun that you can aim at people. And there was a lot of people that had those as well, and it became an all-out battle of unseen proportions. It was insane. I remember you couldn't even see cars. We all had cars down there, and people's cars were borderline getting on fire. I had a firework go into my car and had to put it out because my seats were starting to catch on fire. Like, it was insane. It was insane. I mean, and yes, obviously we got burnt. Obviously there was chaos. It was absolute chaos everywhere you looked. It was just insane. It was one of the most insane moments of my life, and I remember looking around at it and just thinking how freaking awesome it truly was. And yeah, that was my story for 4th of July down at Troutdale growing up as a kid. One of our epic battles we had. It started out with just bottle rocket wars and turned into that. And after that, we decided, since we were almost burning cars down and people down, and it had gotten too much, even for us, as wild as we were at the time. We were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do that another year. It's going to be too much. So we pumped the brakes on that a little bit. But that was one of the wild things I've done in my life. I've done a lot of wild, stupid stuff, and that was another one of my awesome experiences. I'm glad I'm still here. But yeah, I figured you guys might enjoy the story. Stay keeping up. I'll post a story like this once a week. Be doing it all year. Just stories from my life, funny stuff that I've seen and done. I'm also releasing inventions and philosophy, doing all kinds of stuff. But appreciate you all for keeping up. Thanks, guys.